Aye.
All right,
Yeah, we'll get you some info.
Okay.
we're swearing in new members,
I'll talk to you
returning members. So you will raise your right hand and you will say aye and state your name.
I, Steve Dyer,
Ooh, well, that was fun.
Do
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and the Charter of the City of Johnstown, that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties of the Planning and Zoning Commission member to which I have been appointed.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
A lot of competition in this field.
I'm picking up your
So
sarcasm.
Teresa, I would like to call this meeting to order.
Fantastic.
Do we need to sign this and return this to you?
Yeah, we can take
With
care of
blood.
it after if you want
Okay.
to. All right. Steve Dyer,
Here.
Kyle Cook,
Here.
Mark Zolinski, Todd McConnell,
Here.
Brian Hebel.
Here.
Thank you, Teresa. Public comments on items not on the agenda.
I did not receive any speaker slips.
Seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to the election of the chair and vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion that Steve Dyer stays as chair.
I'll second.
All right. Kyle Cook,
Yes.
Todd McConnell,
Yes.
Brian Hebel,
Yes.
Steve Dyer.
Yes.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you. That's quite an honor. I would like to, Mark, I got a hold of Mark, and he would really like to be vice chair. He says he will accept the position, and I would like to nominate Mark, even though he's not here, to be vice chair.
I'll second.
Great. All right. Steve Dyer,
Yes.
Kyle Cook,
Yes.
Todd McConnell,
Yes.
Brian Hebel.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Approval of minutes from December 3rd, 2025. Did everybody read them, get a chance to read them?
Yes. You have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. Yeah, they look good, so a motion to pass.
I'll second.
You can abstain. 'Cause you were
I'm going to abstain.
When she
Yes.
comes around.
That's fine. I'll call,
Sorry.
you can say that when I call the roll. All right. Brian Hebel,
Oh, I was just telling you.
Yes.
Steve Dyer,
Yes.
Kyle Cook,
Yes.
Todd McConnell.
Abstain?
Thank you.
This is fantastic. We're already on line item number 5. All right. Tabled application 9/2225, conditional use, 65 South Main Street, wall mural.
We have not received anything new of the 2 items that the board requested. So
And nobody's here on that. Is that correct?
What happens when it's tabled and then no one shows up?
Couple items procedurally. If you want to act on it, you can remove it from the table, vote it down. So that's one option. We can always reach out to the applicant to see if they would like to withdraw it. It's easier if they withdraw it from legal perspectives and purposes, so we can certainly do that. Or eventually, a little bit more gray in the area, but you could essentially continue to allow it to be tabled, but then after a certain time has passed, simply remove it, and it's no longer on the table. Not as clean and clear cut as we'd like it, but that is
Yeah, there's a time limit on the tables, right?
there's not necessarily like a locked-in time ordinance or a timetable in our ordinances, but this was conversation that we've had with legal counsel in the past and their advice on how to go about these particular items. So again, clean ways to go about it are remove it from the table, vote it down. They would then have to resubmit. Or I could reach out to the applicant, see if they're willing to remove it at their behest, and then it would simply be.
I think we got a lot of interest from the community in this, and I think it's reasonable if we have staff reach out to the applicant.
Certainly. Happy to do so. Kind of,
Thank you. And then by the next meeting, if we haven't heard anything, I think we know.
If
we
we
know
reach
what-
back out and they're not even trying, then
Yeah, we know where we're headed with this.
okay.
All right, moving on down, application 121725, conditional use, 80 West Maple Street, sports field. Now, there's that one, and then we also have the parking lot buffer, but I think we do them one at a time in order?
Yeah.
Trevor? Yep, okay, so for the first one, the conditional use, do we want to start with the applicant or staff report?
I'll jump in just real quickly, kind of frame why we're having the planning and zoning meeting before. The the Design Review Board meeting. Reasons being is this is a conditional use. Before we have our Design Review Board team run through the design of it, we typically like to make sure that it's at least something that is going to be allowable. So before we get to that process, that's what you're here for tonight. Trevor's got a staff report that he's put together that will walk through the conditional use piece of this, and I'll let Trevor do that as well. Again, a variance, if it is an allowable use with the conditions you set forth, a variance is also requested from the applicant. Having that variance approved prior to it going to DRB is also helpful, so that they're not spinning their wheels and then it ultimately coming back. So that's the reverse order that we have tonight. Again, the conditional use, this particular piece of property is UR1 zoning, and it is a condition that can be allowed. And with that, I am going to either A, pass it off to the applicant, but my suggestion would be have Trevor introduce the staff report to give further context behind it, and that way you can answer any questions, and then the applicant's here as well.
I think that's a great idea. Trevor?
Sure. All right, everyone, good evening. So just to orient you where I will be reading or pulling materials from. So the staff report starts on page 12 to 45 in your packet. As Sean noted, this is a conditional use permit request to construct a soccer field on property located at 80 West Maple Street. There are several parcels there highlighted on the map. They will be kind of in the northern 4 parcels that you see there, and some of the parking will be to the south there. And I believe the applicant has bigger boards blown up over there as well that they can walk through. But essentially, the reason this is coming before you for a conditional use permit is within the UR1 zoning district, which is where properties are located. Any sort of like sports fields, things like that require conditional use, hence the application before you. As always, went through the code and applied the standards for conditional uses in chapter 1131.03. Based on those review criteria, I didn't identify anything that would preclude or create an issue with this sort of use in that zoning district. Based on the review criteria, I didn't see any major inconsistencies or anything like that. The site will have the field itself, the support infrastructure, a parking area, lighting, things like that, all that go along with that sort of sports facility. But to that, the conclusion on page 16 that I have, 16 to 45, I did not identify any inconsistencies between the requested conditional use permit and the comprehensive plan or the UR1 zoning district. Specifically, there was nothing in the request that would impact the health, safety, or welfare of the city as a whole. And additionally, a zoning certificate and certificate of appropriateness, which is the DRB review, will still be required prior to any construction or anything like that that goes on site. So this is not the last time it will be reviewed by the city staff. This is just to allow and consider the use itself.
To begin it.
There are some plans within your packet. They start right before the staff report. You can see on there, the plan that's in there, I believe, starting to get over to it, is marked A011, which is the landscape plan. That gives you an idea of the layout of where the new parking will be, which will be accessed off of Maple Street, kind of where the existing parking is there. And then the soccer field, as I said, would be constructed on the northern kind of 4 parcels of that study area map that is in the staff report itself. Before I go into detail that maybe no one's interested in, do you all have any questions?
No, that's,
No,
Okay.
we're just doing the conditional use right
Just
now.
conditional use permit at this time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I do not have anybody from the board?
Is there a zoning, like GCC1, would it be a conditional use?
I don't know, to be honest. It's not uncommon for these sorts of facilities to require a conditional use permit. In other zoning codes that I've worked in, generally it's because they sometimes operate outside of like typical school
'Cause it's a
hours,
school,
things like that.
yeah.
So really it's just an opportunity that if any additional criteria, whether it be, lighting requirements, screening, anything like that, those could all be considered and applied during the conditional use phase. Based on the location of where this is proposed, it's kind of set back from the street. There are going to be new trees and screening, things like that come with it. I didn't see any need to require anything above and beyond what was in the code.
Okay.
But there is the opportunity for that if, through discussion, that is determined to be needed.
Can I add on to that, Trevor? Just for clarity, and it's a good question, Brian, that you brought up. You'll notice that we're doing a conditional use on this particular parcel and expansion, but not with the other projects related to some things happening at the school. Part of the reasoning is because schools are allowed. We consider the school being the primary use, the sports field kind of an ancillary, but a part of the school. Because this site does not have a school building on it, and it will be primarily a sports facility, sports field, is the reason that it triggered the conditional use. Again, there is a distinct difference between the other application that will go before Design Review Board tonight and what you are seeing here. Again, that's because of the uses that are allowed. One is by right permitted, the other one is conditional. So just for probably a learning exercise, for you to be aware, you asked about, I think you were going, should we reclassify it as a GCC1? I don't think that would be necessary for this particular
Okay.
site.
Yeah.
I don't know that that would be in consistency with our comprehensive plan either. So this allows for a path forward, but just a little bit of a check right before it gets to that last approval process.
And a sports field's a sports field, right? Whether it's the school owns it or city owns it.
Yeah, in that regard, ownership didn't come into it.
It's irrelevant.
Right, yeah, because the code says operating with or without a fee, so whether it was a private entity that
It doesn't matter.
trying to charge, or, you know, the school that's just using it as part of their operations, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Fantastic. We'd like to hear from our applicants tonight. If you could,
So I'm new, so
Sorry.
I'm going to ask some questions. I'm not sure if they're appropriate at this point or at another time.
Feel free.
If I'm reading the map correctly, it was already mentioned that the access to the new parking area is going to be off West Maple Street. Off of that, however, coming directly out of there is, if I read this correctly, is going to go to Williams.
Correct.
I'm
Yeah.
picking up what you're laying down there, Todd, now.
So,
You're saying out in the hallway.
A four-way intersection there.
Yeah.
yes, thank you. So if it is going to do that, I would assume proper signage would be there, stop signs, to be able to make sure that people are stopping before they get onto the roads. Going to a meeting that was presented to the city last month for road improvements, William Street is potentially going to have a light installed there. It's going to move from Oregon.
Yep.
So there's kind of there's multiple questions there. So if that's the case, I brought up at that meeting, and I'm going to bring it up tonight, is will Williams, and it's not for the applicant necessarily, but will Williams be upgraded? Is it going to be updated? Because I would assume,
Like the coffee shop road, right?
yes, where our hotspot is. So
Yeah.
from 62, there's at the potential light, going to the new parking area, I would see that there's going to be increased traffic. The way that the street is right now, it doesn't do great with current traffic. So if you're going to increase traffic, will there be improvements made to that road? And with that, or that's one question. The second question is from Oregon. Oregon goes directly to the school. But if Oregon is going to be cut off so that you can only make certain turns, you can't go straight across 62 on Oregon
Right.
from the school, is that going to be something that's taken into consideration for that construction or potential construction? Now, I don't know if there's been changes made since that meeting, so I'm just bringing those items up.
That's a comprehensive plan question for that one. That's a
Yeah, I
really,
mean, I think those are good questions. In
Yeah.
terms of, will improvements be directly associated with the construction of either the stoplight or the soccer field? I think the answer to that is no, unless the city's already planned something for that. And in terms of the Oregon Street intersection, there's kind of not a whole lot of input there that can, like, because it's a state roadway, there's different standards that are applied to those in terms of like distance between intersections and movements that can happen across them. So I don't think that there will be improvements associated directly with this in terms of like the intersections or the street being upgraded, unless that's,
So what I understood from that meeting is that Oregon, coming from the school, going towards the park area, is going to be stopped, and there's going to be, you can either turn, I don't remember if it's left or right, but you can't go straight across because it's going to force you, I think you might only be able to turn
right.
right
only
Right,
onto
yeah,
the
yeah,
street.
probably.
So then if you're coming from the school to this area, people, parents, kids would be able to walk across without a light
Right.
now. But parents going across there would have to divert onto Williams or onto 37, 36, 37 Main Street to be able to get there. So it's going to create a diversion of traffic and things like that. Again, that's not to do with the applicant.
Right.
But it's something else that, as far as planning, and Brian, like you said, that's maybe a different area to be able to.
Yeah, that's a good
have that
point, it's a good point,
conversation.
though, something to think about.
No, it is a good question. That's kind of demonstrates very well how different initiatives kind of stack on top of each other when you start
Yes.
talking about these sort of things. I do know I would have been lightly involved in some of the conversations related to the infrastructure improvements, but there should be, if the stoplight is moved from Oregon to Williams, there should be upgraded pedestrian facilities included with that, meaning like crosswalks with the signals that allow pedestrians to know when to cross, the buttons, that sort of thing. So while it will be a change in overall traffic pattern, you should be able to, at Williams, you should be able to have both vehicles and pedestrians cross there at that intersection safely. So it will be different than today.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that there won't be other potential downstream issues with Williams and the capacity they can handle. But I think in terms of like accessibility across 30 or 62, there should be no change other than crossing a block later or earlier, depending on how you look at it, than you do today.
Which would increase traffic on Williams, which
There's
is,
probably the likelihood for that, yeah.
so that's, I just wanted to make sure to bring that up.
Yep.
And the other question, based on the map that's listed on here, it doesn't say the types of trees, it just says deciduous trees, existing trees and such. I know the city also has a list of
Undesirable.
undesirable, so I wanted to make sure that that was something that was noted in here, what type of trees were going to be put in there. I love
Yeah.
trees, I used to do landscaping, so I'm in favor of trees and shrubs and stuff, but
It
if-
may be in here and I'll look for that, but typically at this phase, I don't go into that level of detail.
Okay.
That would be something that, for full-on site engineering, when that comes through, that's when that list is reviewed to make sure no undesirable trees are being used in
Okay.
the overall program. Yeah.
or variances looked at that point. Okay.
Just thinking ahead, love it.
It's great.
So thanks for waiting.
Yeah.
If you
Sorry
could
to
state your
delay you.
name.
No, it's fine. Philip Wagner, Superintendent for the Johnstown Monroe Schools. I have two of our architects here. Would you want them to go through the storyboards and kind of lay out the project for you? It might be,
That's
see that kind of
up to
detail?
you guys, yeah.
I mean, whatever, we're here to help.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think you can see the project, and they have some storyboards. So we have Chris Dumford and Eric Thompson, and our two lead architects on this, so I'll let the two of you walk through this. And on the trees issue, by the way, we started looking at the list. We know that's a little further down the road, but we understand what that is, so we will work with the city on that and not have anything that's prohibited.
So if I may, I know it's going to be annoying, but there's people watching at home. If you're going to talk about it, could you talk on the microphone?
There's people watching us?
Sometimes.
So, all the information that you need to consider this should be on what's in your packet. I've made a couple of other just sort of annotations that might just be a little helpful. The first thing I did was, on this plan here, the highlighted area of pavement, there was a certain amount of pavement that was bid as a base bid, and there was some additional parking and pavement that was bid as an alternate. It's all identified on the plan, but the alternate for the additional parking was not accepted, so what's shown in purple there is the extent of what's actually going to be built the first time. It doesn't really affect anything on this meeting. It affects the quantity of trees in one of the calculations, but just to let you know that. This is the same drawing, it just has the aerial overlaid. This will come into, this will be appropriate to look at in more depth when we talk about the variance for the screening at the parking lot areas. So I just have that there. So you know. This drawing here is the grading plan, and it just, again, shows the elevations of the parking lot, at the parking lot, and then at the street to show the difference. Again, that's part of the variance conversation. And then, I don't think that this pertains to this meeting, but we do have graphics of what the buildings look like and the materials that are going to be on the building. That's mainly for the next meeting, but if anybody wants to see that, those are available. Yeah, as far as the just the approval of the use. I don't think there's much more that we have to add. It is simply just a soccer field, multipurpose field with a concession building to serve that, concession and restroom, and then parking and drive to get there. So nothing crazy or out of the ordinary, and no variances associated with just the use acceptance.
Thank you.
Well, I have a couple questions if nobody else does.
Start, go ahead.
So this is going to be school-related, and it's not going to be used for commercial use. It's not going to be,
No, we always get requests to use our facilities, so it could be, some youth league or some others would want to use it. No, there's no commercial application for this.
okay, and that moves to my next question. Is there a time limit where you can't have people on the field with the homes around there?
Yeah, we don't have anything in that right now, but what I will tell you is, this is a grass field right now, and then this will be a large soccer, regular, is it 220 across? I think it's like 220.
by.
So one of the things, we won't even have actual lighting. We didn't put lighting into this. We're going to have everything stubbed in. So if there's discussions or questions about, light pollution on too, we can have that at some point. We're going to make sure that when we put this in, that we will have all the electrical runs stubbed, and then there would be another time in the future that we would want to talk about lighting for that.
Okay.
The cost is, the lighting package in itself just far exceeds everything else. But-
Sure, I'm just, well, that helps. I'm thinking about, like, football games go real late. The community around the football stadiums used to.
Yeah.
It's accepted. There's nothing, is that going to occur here, or are there going to be late tournaments?
No, that's a good question. So this is going to be primarily for soccer and some of our middle school sports. Right now, we get a lot of use or requests for use on our current campus here. And that turf field only has, on our current campus, only has so much availability. So that will be our varsity, if you will, and some JV. We may use down temporarily for, if there was an overflow or something, we might let somebody go down and practice there, but it wouldn't normally be that much use. It's more of a practice field than anything else. The lines on this all too, like we'll have primarily for soccer, but if football wanted to go down, the eighth grade football team wanted to go down, or even JV want to go to practice, they can do it, but we're going to be subjected to kind of the current hours we have right now, nothing very late at night.
Sean, we had night games there, didn't we?
Yeah, and that's a good point, Kyle. I was going to wait till the end, but
Sorry,
I'll jump in right here. No, you trigger something I was going to state. Something that you want to consider when you're looking at the conditional use with this particular application is that this is an existing use that's on the field. This is an expansion. So anytime you have an expansion, it obviously triggers that. The expansion of that conditional use is obviously the parking lot and then the additional buildings. I would say there's a definite distinguishment between if this were a blank slate within a residential neighborhood, and I think all the questions you guys are asking are on point. But again, also remembering what is existing there relative to what's happening now, what happened prior, to answer Kyle's question in a very long roundabout way. Yes, there used to be a field there that had youth events, that had stadium lights, and had some evening soccer games and things like that. There used to be a football field in junior high and things of that nature. So it obviously has lessened from what its starting point was. But again, I think the existing use is currently what's kind of happening on that site. If this were a blank field, blank site, that's something that you would want to evaluate. Is this going to be, obviously an intrusion to that area other than what it already is? And you have to consider the expansion of what they're proposing, if that's a bridge too far or if it meets the requirements.
Well, I mean, if I can repeat what you said to me, it's a practice field and it's going to be used for when the overflow, basically.
Yeah, but soccer may use that, as their primary soccer field at times. Even our varsity may use that, so it will get more use.
Without lights.
What's that?
Without lights.
Yeah,
lights are not
we might
going
get
in
some
right now.
rental lights if we needed to, but there's nothing permanent in the lighting right now. And there's just not enough time on our schedules right now. If anything, to your question, I think it'll shorten some of the time, because right now we're trying to use our current turf field for many different sports. We've got lacrosse now, soccer, football, so this will give us some extra space to use, but primarily soccer will be using this.
You get 2 games at the same time because you have 2 fields.
Or what we do sometimes now is we have to start very late or start very early to try and get everything on the current field. We went back and forth in the design of this from a natural field to turf, and we actually went to turf. It's a little bit more money, but because it'll afford more flexibility. And even if baseball and softball want to come out and hit in the, daylight today where it's starting to get a little warmer, but you could do that on a natural field, but you could certainly do it here. So we'll have some lines on there too for
I
that.
was going to ask, but it's a natural field today, so the decision to go with turf is just more durable, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's interesting. We did a study with that. We used Robertson as our construction manager, and we went through that. And by the time you start looking at upkeep, with the natural, grass and what would take to sod and keep that in a good state of repair versus turf, it's a little bit more money with turf, but long term, I think it'll give it, well, we know it'll give it a lot better use.
Because I know if you ask soccer players, they want to play on grass. They do.
Well, we have talked with the soccer team as well, too.
Yeah.
And there are other fields that we can try to use, but, we get the request now to try to use our current stadium. The problem is it's not regulation
Yeah.
for soccer.
I know that it's open today for the public. Will this be closed? Like, I could go there and start kicking a ball on that?
Yeah, we're going to have more controls on it. We actually have some residents who have some concerns about it's become a dog park in some
Yeah,
respects,
yeah,
and
yeah.
cleaning up after the dogs, then people want to go on the field, and it's not in the best state of repair right now, so we're going to revamp everything. We will have the ability to contain the entire field here. We'll make sure, we have a scheduling software system, so this will go on to the scheduling software too, so we'll know when people are there or not there. We're just giving this to you at a high level, but even with the concessions and all, we're going to have fiber in here now, so we'll have cameras, Wi-Fi, so we'll be able to manage the environment, some door controls, gate controls in here that we can manage too. So this will be all contained in here. The entire complex will be there.
And there's no lighting, but you said you could bring in portable lighting if we...
Could do portables, yeah, there's there's poles in here right now, but they're actually in the way, they're not anywhere nearby, today's standard.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
no
yeah,
take
that's-
all this out.
yeah.
But they will have them, like I said, stubbed in here. So that's a future project to consider. We'll probably look for some sponsorship or something like that in the future, because it is very expensive. Almost as much.
Really?
Those lights to put, yeah, it's about over $700,000 is the estimate, just to put the lights in. Now, we'll have everything stubbed.
Wow.
For that. Now, what we will do is we're going to put a little bit of lighting coming off the, we won't be playing the night games in this, but we'll have a little bit of lighting just to keep the field illuminated if need to, coming off the concession, so it's not going to
Yeah.
be enough for playing. But you've seen those, portable, like you can Sun Rental, and like,
Yeah,
if we wanted
you
to
need
do
'em.
something, we can do that. But actually, like I said, it should shorten our schedules, because now we can run multiple games if we need to. We don't have that
When
availability
the sun
now.
goes down in like
Yeah.
October, you're going to need to bring in
Yeah.
lights, because October games, I mean,
Exactly.
I'm going to be transparent, my daughter plays soccer for the high school, and so does Steve, so
Yeah.
you're going to have night games.
Yeah.
100%.
Or at least like in the
Well,
evening in
and
the
as Sean
fall.
said, this used to be the application here, we had
Yeah.
2 school buildings here years and years ago, so.
Question? I saw you raise your hand.
Oh, I was agreeing with Brian about
Rough.
soccer. I'd rather play on grass than.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's-
but
yes,
but
their
long
decision.
term, I understand the turf is going to hold up. I
One
get
of the-
it.
one of the-
If it was dedicated soccer, yeah, but if you want anyone to go there, you can't have anyone go there.
Well, like I said, football, this would be our,
Yeah.
middle school football can go there.
That makes sense.
Lacrosse can
Makes
use
more-
this.
yeah.
The nice thing about soccer, like, in our current stadium, we can't widen that field. We don't
Right.
have without major renovation
Yeah.
to that. And
What is the width and yard? Do you have the yards or meters on that one? Do you know? I don't know if you know.
It's 220 wide, and then it's the full football field, which is
Yeah.
So
So
no
one-
track around it?
We did look at that too. We just couldn't get all that on there, but we talked about getting that
I'm just
track
joking. So the school's growing too, right?
No, actually not. Right now, we're not. Well, in some buildings, overall, we've about the same. By our reports, the school district is 52 square miles, so more than just Johnstown. Our data shows over 100 homes have been demolished. So we've lost some residents, and we see a bit more of a transient population. So, it's not, we're not really seeing much growth right now. Interestingly, the elementary, especially the kindergarten, is down about 35 students, but we have about 26 students more in the high school. So the demographics have shifted a little bit.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. Now, we know that's not our future, and
Right.
we want to be prepared for this. So this is, but even at, let's say, where we are right now, which is kind of static, there's so much demand and request. And this will also free up, we're working closely with JYAA, Greater Johnstown Parks and Rec, so this will free up opportunities for athletics throughout the entire community.
Yeah.
So one thing that you've said several times, and forgive me if I missed this in the application or the staffing report, but the concession stand, I don't see that listed anywhere in here. Consider,
I think I just included that under ancillary, like supporting facilities.
Okay.
Yeah, I assume there's gonna be a concession stand there along with the announcer booth. and that.
okay, I mean, I see it as part of the picture,
Yeah.
but recommendation to consider construction of soccer field supporting infrastructure, parking, lighting, fencing, et cetera. Well, he's now saying that there's not going to be the lighting.
Correct, I more or less meant the parking lot lighting, because that was included in the plan, correct? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
There's parking lot and lighting on the building, right around the exits.
So we brought this to show tonight, some of this week, but next week too, but some of the materials recommended or what we have in our current building, like our high school right now. But this is two different views inside the field and outside of what the concessions would look like. So there's a little bit of roof lighting, like I was talking about, just to give a little illumination, but it's not nowhere near available for light. It's a very small concession, but one of the things that's nice in here too are restrooms. Like we've had portable toilets in here and problems with this. This will have restrooms, so we'll have that available for the students and the community who are there as well too.
But
All
only
this can
during
be-
the-
When you brought up the growth question, all this can be scaled and come back another time, but these
The bleachers and stuff.
features and all, yeah, everything can be scaled, and we actually, on the plans inside the concession, we have some non-load-bearing walls where we can expand if we wanted to get into full concessions. These concessions would be very low level, so it's pretty much just handing things off, but if we wanted to get to the 3 or 4 sinks and that's standard, we can do that another time. We'd come back and look at
And the
that.
concessions would only be available for the soccer events? or
Yeah, I think for
whatever those
anything that's a
use?
game, I don't think.
So the question I have with that then is there's baseball fields that are there, baseball, softball fields, are they still going to be used? And can they be made available or can they be staffed
Yeah.
for those events?
We can look at that if we need to. We even, when we looked at this side over here, we even looked at speakers and can we get down at least on that softball field? So if there was a game there, if the middle school wanted to play, could we use some of the PA system and all too? We're looking at that as an option. It'll depend on what the need is because really we provide the building, but the volunteers would be staffing that from a concession standpoint.
Any other questions? Seeing none? Thank you very much.
Public comment, or what do we have to do? Yeah.
Yep. Beat me to it.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't know what it is, yeah.
Any members of the public would like to make any
I'm
comments?
gonna go to a vote.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. If you please come up, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
It won't take me but a minute.
All right. Thank you. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Sue Holly. I live right at the corner of Maple and Williams, and I'm primarily concerned at that 4-way stop you're going to have there. It's very narrow. Okay, Williams Street is really in bad shape. People don't pay attention to the stop signs now. It's just one of those things that happens. But the other thing I'm concerned about is a problem that has been going on for several years, and that is people parking right across from my driveway and the Keller's driveway. There's a no parking sign after you've passed the Keller's house on that side of the road.
She's talking about going right up to the Legion.
Is that the Christmas house?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right across. Okay.
She's right next to the
House, and I'm the next door neighbor.
Okay,
Nice.
okay.
I'm the ditto, okay.
Okay.
But what happens is I can get out, we have to be very, very careful getting out of our garages and driveways because people are parked all along that side of the road. Not on the house side, but on the other side where the fields are. I think that no parking signs need to come up to the corner to prevent that. If they park on the house side, it's not a problem, but it's trying to get out of the drives, especially with a narrow road.
Yeah.
And the other concern that I have is one that has been a problem in the past, and we're going to be adding a building and some other parking structure, is to make certain that we are paying attention to drainage. You know, we've had some big drainage issues over in that area, both going down Maple and going down Williams. And, you know, nothing's been used as far as a parking lot for a while. But I just want to make sure that there's extra attention being paid to that.
Okay.
Thanks, I hope I
Thank you.
didn't exceed my 3 minutes.
No, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other public comments? Please come up, state your name. And again, friendly reminder, you got 3 minutes.
I'm Caitlin Ashbrook. I'm 197 North Oregon Street, so I'm on the far side of the field there. So, nice to meet you, hello neighbor. I agree with her. The biggest issue that we've struggled with the use of that, we've been there 5 years, so when we moved in, the school was already gone and all that had happened. But the biggest issue we do have is the two things, the parking. We have a turnaround driveway. We've had to block one side off because people will zoom down and through our driveway to get back to park right on the street there where it says no parking. The police department actually came and put up a no parking sign in our turnaround area because people would just park in our grass and park in our driveway. So I'm hoping that this is enough to suffice what goes on there, because when there is a soccer game and a softball game, we're nowhere near covered in the amount of cars that are coming into that space. Drainage is the other thing. We used to have this wonderful line of huge pine trees along our property to block. Because of drainage issues, it's a huge ditch between our house and the field there. We lost about half the trees on that, so we no longer have that block, and that is one of the things that I've actually talked to the district a little bit, just because we're concerned about what the landscaping and blockage will be on the other side, because that's literally in front of our house that looks on the field, which is nice. We can stand there and watch the games. However, if it's going to be late at night with the lights and noise, we want to make sure that that the zoning board is taking a look at that end of the field too, not just the parking end of it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How many parking spaces are going to be added with the addition of the parking area?
Would the applicant like to come back up and address any of those?
Can we just, I didn't know if this was real.
Right.
Yeah.
I did the same thing he's doing. I counted as well, tried to count, but
26, I believe.
Okay.
You want us to come back up?
Yeah, if you can, I have a couple questions. I don't know if it's, Steve, if I'm on board, let me know. I have no idea what I'm
go
doing.
for it.
So I think the drainage concern is real. How is that going to be addressed? I mean, I know soccer fields are drained, football fields are drained really, really well. How are you guys accounting for that right now? Have you seen any problems, or is there a plan to deal with it?
So, this was not submitted, this is the utility plan that is part of the project. So underneath the synthetic turf field, water drains right through that, so you have to have a full system. So underneath the field is a full drainage system that goes, there's a detention basin that's being added down on the west
Okay.
side. So that whole north end of the campus is going to have extensive drainage.
Is that what like, is that by the parking lot right there? Yep. Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. So that's, the plan is it goes there. Okay.
Correct. And then it ultimately goes into the woods, into the, kind of the creeks that run through the woods, which is sort of the natural drainage path, but it'll be collected and detained, so that should improve that. And then around the building, what water hits the building is collected, and then alongside the building and the parking lots, that's all collected and makes its way back to that detention basin as well. So everything that we're touching on the site is
It's going to improve it, yeah. Okay.
Whatever drainage issues there are on the street, there's nothing, we're not.
And you have state of Ohio requirements to meet, is that correct? Drainage requirements?
The city has adopted
Yes.
stormwater management requirements that will have to be met, yes.
For their parking lot specifically, I can't speak to the field site, that's probably a different animal, but for the parking lot and the impervious surface that they're creating, they'll have to submit engineering plans that account for any of that impermeable surface and how it will be retained on site, and then it also has to be released at an appropriate rate, but those are all EPA guidelines that we have to follow, that we do have within our ordinance. So this, again, as they mentioned, older sites didn't have to adhere to those regulations at the time that they were installed. Because this is an expansion, this will likely, and I say this pretty good certainty, probably improve the situation that exists there because of the new engineering that they're going to have to be
Sounds like it, yeah.
part of.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I did want to address the trees because the Ashbrook family did get in contact with one of the administrators and work with it. We withdrew the variance request for the trees because we want to work with the families. And, we will add the 9 trees in there. We did look at the property and, we need to do some work on it, but I can see there's a swale in there now. And so the family contacted us, so we're going to work with them on that. I do think that area will be improved. We're not going to add to any drainage issues though either, because that's one of the advantages of the turf field.
Yeah.
We'll be able to control all that.
Yeah.
And as you see, we have the utility plants here, so I do think there'll be some improvements when we make more sensitive to that. Also want to take care of the parking because of what Mrs. Ashbrook said there, she was a lot of concerns there, so we'll try to work on that. And we'll have better management of the site too, especially if it's more active again.
So hopefully 26 spots help. We wish, obviously, we could have tons of parking out there. There's only so much space.
Well, we're looking at that too. As we grow long-term, like we even talked about, do we take over that baseball there and make some parking in that? So there, so we've had some plans that we're not ready to submit that, but we'll see what kind of usage we get, and then we'd have to find a new place for baseball. But, we'll work on that, and it should be some improvements from what's there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. No?
Yeah.
Okay. The tree line on the north side, then, is that going to remain, like that separates the houses now? Or are some trees going to have to be removed, or?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, some of the overhang's gonna have to be cut back. What's on the property, there's a fence line there that's back. What's around the fence line is mainly kind of brush.
Okay.
So some of that will have to be sort of trimmed back in order to get the grading, to get the field. There's some grading work that goes along there, but there's still a buffer.
It'll still be
there.
that,
And-
okay.
And that's, there's still room that we can add some trees in that area if we need to
Okay.
kind of supplement the buffering that was mentioned. So.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
All right.
Seeing none,
If I may.
yes, you may.
So, through this process, it is a conditional use permit process. We've heard a couple different residents mention things about concerns about hours of operation, things like that. If you all are so inclined, you have the ability to limit the hours of operation of this site because we're going through this process. I don't have a recommendation for what time is the appropriate time if you want to do one of those, but there is the ability to address that if the board so chooses.
My thought on that is the city already has a noise ordinance.
That's true.
So if there is going to be noise there, it would be restricted to that as well.
It should,
And
yeah.
lighting should be appropriate to that same, my thinking would be, lighting would be appropriate to that same time.
Because it would have to follow like what the football.
I mean, that's tough. You're gonna tell the cops to shut down a game.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna work. This is not gonna
On the
happen.
team.
Yeah, but I also don't know if I
Hold on, you got to back up there.
regulations to time.
So just to flesh
I
some of
don't-
this out, I believe
Unless you-
McConnell had referenced a suggestion of having the light usage reflect our noise ordinance hours. And if that is something that the board wants to pursue, I can certainly put that down. But again, to Trevor's point, the conditional piece, this is the appropriate time for you to mention those. Again, just for clarity, anything that's suggested and part of the conversation won't actually be applicable unless it's made in the motion specifically how it wants to be carried out. So
Right.
if there is a desire to have that on the books as far as lighting needs to coincide with the noise ordinance.
What is the noise ordinance hour?
It's
10?
pretty long, but I
I
can't
mean,
recall.
I can tell
off the
you,
top of
I know
my head.
other school districts do that as well, where at this time, we have to shut it down. We have to shut the
Right.
lights off.
And while Trevor's looking for that, I'll buy him some time. If you did want to have screening, and the school district indicated that they want to have screening between that adjacent property owner. And I think that's really the only one that is right next to it. The other ones have a street, obviously, in between.
No.
Maybe. If you wanted to require that some additional screening take place in that area, if you wanted to make sure that was certain, you would want to put that in your conditional piece tonight and just say, hey, there needs to be some screening associated with the northern part next to the resident. Sounds like the school has indicated they're willing to do that, but just so staff at a later date has the ability to go back, make sure that those things are followed through on, we would just request that if that is your desire, that that would be also placed in the conditional use motion if one were made.
And it sounds like the vote tonight is to approve the conditional use. There's a lot more discussion of items for this improvement,
No,
for
we
this
get it.
property.
We're going to do that now, I think.
Oh, because I thought that's what,
Right, so there's two things that we just brought up, right? So
Yeah.
I like the lights that match the hours of the,
I have no update on that.
okay, go ahead. Oh, not good.
So, in chapter 509 of the code, it's called it's under disturbing the peace, which I think is probably the most reasonable noise ordinance. So it says that it establishes the regulations, but the exemptions to that are sound emanating from scheduled events conducted, sponsored, or permitted by the village or schools. So,
Permitted by the.
Free reign.
There you go.
Well, I will say, not that the noise is not that it's not an issue. We have had 3 neighbors that haven't mentioned noise at all.
right.
Sure, and then
So I
they
mean,
are the school, not
Yeah,
a
so-
commercial property, and I think the school is more than willing to work with
I
that.
will say there is limitations on construction operations within the city. Those are from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the allowable window there for construction, which again is more for noise than light, but I think kind of gives you an idea of what previously was deemed acceptable.
And then what about Sean's second comment that he brought up? Anybody thoughts on that?
Yeah, I didn't understand it, so you want to do it again?
Sure. So on the north side with the Ashbrook property, the school has indicated that they are willing to put in some type of screening
Yeah.
associated with that. And you could simply state that, it has to have an opacity or, some arborvitaes or something more specific. But if this was an intent that you wanted to actually follow through on,
Yeah.
you should state that in your specific motion. My fear is always, it's talked about a year later, Ms. Ashbrook comes in, she says, this was the intent.
specific,
But we don't have anything to.
On record.
On record, so,
Gotcha.
so the intent may have been there, but we don't have any ability to follow.
Ryan,
through.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to live there, I would want a screen, right? Some sort of screen, right?
Well, and I think Dr. Wagner's already spoke to the fact that they're
Yeah.
going to work with the family to make sure the screening is there. So if anything is removed from the one location, they're going to make sure they put it back, and
One
they're going to
property.
work. So I think we already have it that we will be working for future, because they're going to have to come to us about trees at some point, right?
So they'll have to submit a landscaping plan associated with it, and design reviews. I'm going to look at all that, but there was a tree variance associated with it. That has been pulled. Now it's just some screening variance. So their landscaping plan will have to be consistent with what is required by our particular codified ordinance.
Okay.
So if you wanted to put the screening requirement in there in a lighter fashion, just for staff's perspective, and Teresa's benefit at a later date, just simply stating that conditional use granted, and it is recognized that the property owners need to work with the Ashbrook to provide appropriate screening. That may at least give us some ability to navigate it. Now,
I'd be
that
fine
leaves a
adding
pretty
that.
wide opening for conversation, but at
Yeah,
least it's
it's-
referenced in the motion, and then that way it's reflected in the minutes that was addressed, and that some concessions need to be provided for some screening.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead, if everybody's okay with that. I'll make
Yes.
a motion to approve the conditional use with the idea that the school will work with the families as far as the screening and come to us for that.
I'll second it.
That good?
It's
Kyle Cook.
better than good.
Yes.
Brian Hebel,
Yes.
Todd McConnell,
yes.
Steve Dyer.
Yes. All right. Application 121925, variance 80 West Maple Street, parking lot landscaping buffering. So let's start with this.
I'm going to kick it right over to Trevor for efficiencies of time. Trevor, take it away.
Sounds good. So as we noted earlier, the first variance request for the minimum number of trees on site has been withdrawn by the applicant, so I'm not going to cover that. The second item is for, and let me get this pulled up and I can walk through. Okay, so the buffer requirement conversation is on page 29 of 45 of your packet, or page 4 or 5 of your packet if you're in there. Here again, chapter 1133 establishes criteria for all variances that they must go through, and I always review variances as, in order to grant variance, there needs to be a hardship presented by the property, meaning the site's a little bit awkwardly shaped, or there's a lot of topography that limits where you can put a building, things like that that would preclude development from happening. As I was going through the code criteria, I didn't see any reason to recommend approval of this variance. It seems like there's plenty of space to put this screening in. The parking's arranged in a way that it could accommodate that, which is why the recommendation in the report is to not approve that variance. However, based on that site and the fact that there is some topography there and where the parking would be located, I think there is merit in what the applicant has mentioned, in that you probably won't be able to see any lighting from the parking lot being directed off the site just due to the existing vegetation and the topography. But there again, the code doesn't offer flexibility to say, if your site already meets that screening criteria, you don't have to do the parking lot screening, which is why the denial recommendation is in the report. If you all feel, based on where this site is located, the topography, the existing vegetation, if that meets, in your opinion, the requirements of the code, you can certainly grant this variance, and the site can be developed in that way.
Because it's on the south.
But there again, I'm reviewing it based on the specifics of the code. There is no kind of outlet, if you want to call it that, or there is no
Technicality.
Yeah, there is no runway to allow that sort of variance to be recommended for approval, hence the recommendation for denial.
Before we move to the applicant, Sean, you got anything to add?
Going to keep it short and simple.
All right.
So we could have our architects, do you want to go through
Yeah, so
topography first, or?
this diagram here sort of shows, I put these dotted lines from the parking lot to where it hits the property line on the three sides. You can see to the west and to the north, it's hitting dense vegetation, and to the east, I actually have the spot elevations at the edge of the pavement versus the edge of the street. It's like a 6-foot variance on both corners. So in my experience, I don't know if Trevor, you have the same experience, but in other zoning codes, there is language that if the screening is provided by a mound or other change in topography, that it's acceptable. There is none such language, but I think the intent is to prevent, lights from shining into bedrooms or whatever, and I think our site meets that. And just, to put a bunch of hedges along there, it's not only there's a cost of the maintenance, it also provides areas where, people can be out of sight and harder to supervise it with cameras and so forth. So it's just a lot cleaner, easier to maintain, easier to supervise without it, and we think that the topography, existing conditions meet the intent of the zoning code to prevent the lights, so we're asking for the variance to be approved.
What would be the alternative, what would it look like on a map, Trevor? What do
Basically,
you-
there would be more than likely about a 3-foot deep landscape bed or masonry wall that would be right around the perimeter edge of the parking area only. The
okay.
intent, from what I can tell, the way the
Just-
code is written, the intent is for commercial developments or other apartment complex, things like that, so that you have that sort of vegetative buffer between the parking area and someone's front door or windows, things like that, as the applicant pointed to. The one thing the code here does not do is kind of give that out of, if site conditions already accomplish that, then you don't have to do it. The code's just very prescriptive of, if you have a parking area, you need to have screening around the edges of it.
Yeah.
That's the reason for the variance. So,
Yeah.
Trevor, in your opinion, is there any safety concerns not having it?
Safety concerns,
Right, I mean, this is for kids, this is a
Sure.
park.
I think in many ways, no, there are no safety concerns from my standpoint, in terms of the topography changes and does, basically anywhere that would be pointed would probably either go into the ground or up above someone's house
Okay.
before it really causing an issue.
And that was-
And to the point of the applicant, yeah, there are just fewer places for people to hide or other things to disappear in the shrubbery and that sort of thing, so.
Parents to tailgate.
Does it set a citywide, I guess, does it set a precedence that
I do think there is some possibility for that in that you may have applicants in the future that come in a area that you might want that parking lot screening more for aesthetics than anything else, but that's still a reason to have them. I think there could be more of these requests, but I'm not gonna say you're gonna have a floodgate of every development that comes in is gonna ask for it. I don't know that that's gonna happen, but
Not that big of a deal.
In my opinion, it's on the, the south end of the lot there, right? It gets surrounded by trees.
Hard to see.
It is a park.
yeah.
Any other comments from,
So just, did we highlight the elevation there too? I think that's something, because when you think about the barrier, and you have at least 6 feet there too, so there's an inherent, you can argue that it's already in the topography right now, anyways. I don't know how large of a screen you would,
The code requires 3.5 feet, so 6
okay.
feet, obviously.
I mean, we've got 6 feet there, and I don't know if we have the measurements here, but this is, we got about 300 feet.
It's a few hundred feet, yeah.
Okay.
thank you, thank you guys. Any comments from the public? All right, hearing none. Any discussion that we need to have on the board? It's on the south end of the property there. There's no safety concerns, which is one of my things. Setting a precedent, sure, I get it, but it's a park.
Yep.
So there's lots of green space already. So I'm in favor of this.
To make a motion.
Then I'm going to make a motion to approve application 12/19/25 variance.
Second?
Sorry, who was the second?
Todd?
Todd,
Thanks, Todd.
You're welcome.
getting in the game. Look at
Yeah?
you.
Sorry. Steve Dyer,
Yes.
Kyle Cook,
Yes.
Ryan Hebel,
Yes.
Todd McConnell.
Yes.
All right, for the sake of time, it is 3 minutes over, and we still have light manufacturing, but there's some people who traveled here today to talk about it. I think this needs to be moved to the next meeting.
I can try to tee it up if you'd like.
Yeah,
And it's up to you all to continue it, but just for some background, went before council, there was some discussion at council, differing opinions, and so the move by council was to take it back for planning and zoning for some further consideration. With that said, staff has not had a chance and an opportunity to really digest some of the comments. Some of the individuals that were at the council meeting are here tonight. If there is a desire to allow for maybe 5 to 10 more minutes, allow the applicants to, allow the public an opportunity to speak on this, just knowing that staff will probably not be providing a lot of feedback, if any, but just an opportunity for us to hear, you all to hear concerns, and then dive deeper into this at a later date when there's more appropriate time.
I think that's completely appropriate. The people came to this meeting, they're here. I think we should let them talk, and then,
And I think it will help ultimately shape what.
Yeah,
is done.
what we've been talking about from this
Yeah.
we'll move on. So again, reminder, say your name, and you have 3 minutes. So is there anybody that would like to speak tonight?
Anybody?
Please, come on up.
Anybody but Alan?
I want to first thank you for your service to the community. These are all thankless jobs, I realize that they are. So I'm one of the owners, I own ABY Leasing. We have factories here in Hebron and Heath, and we have other industrial properties in these other municipalities. We also own some farms. So the property that we have is the 67 acres. And that's in the industrial park. It's been in the industrial park since the 80s, I believe. Because I can't go back any further than that when I look at the Licking County website. So when it was originally annexed into the city, it was industrial, for a light industrial. And what we're requesting is, we want to thank you for taking a look at the intended uses for the property. And what we'd like to see is those intended uses being applied to the property that we have within the industrial park.
All of it.
So we want to see consistency across all light manufacturing, and that's what we're requesting. I know there's some concerns about the property there. We also own 80-something acres that's next to the 67 acres. My family is intending to live on that property. So, don't be scared of what's going to happen to the 67 acres that we have, because again, my family is going to live next to whatever's there. So you may not see much of anything happen to it, but we'd like to see consistency. Originally, when I bought it, I looked at actually building a factory there on that property, and I talked to the city about that at that time. I have built factories in the past down in Heath. So, I don't really see much happening to it anytime soon, but this is the opportunity to try to get consistency within the properties. So I thank you for your time.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
all your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello again.
Hello again. As Mr. Benton said, thank you for your service. We appreciate your guys' time tonight and letting us sneak in here. My name is Justin Fox. I'm with Underhill and Hodge. I represent Rodney Johnson and the Johnson family, who is the owner of 9518 Sportsman's Club Road. That is the property immediately adjacent to Mr. Benton's. It is currently zoned light manufacturing. I think a brief kind of history is important for you guys to kind of contemplate as you look at this text, but Rodney's father, Richard, bought this property in 1980. The family has owned the property since that time. It was, I think it was 2014 when the city approached the Johnson family and requested that they annex into the city and would, at that time, receive the light manufacturing zoning designation. At that point in time, the intention or kind of the information that was relayed was that was so it could become a part of the business park off of Commerce Boulevard. No one on the Johnson side, and really maybe nobody, was paying attention to what the light manufacturing text was or what it said. It was only over the last 3 years or so that we started to kind of investigate permitted uses and conditional uses and what light manufacturing in Johnstown under the current zoning text actually meant. It turns out that it's limited. It's probably outdated. We followed applications through with council, with planning and zoning over the last few years. So, we are very happy to see that it is being reconsidered. I think that the text as drafted is well thought out, and I think that it makes a lot of sense for those areas. To be more specific with Mr. Benton's request, the issue that we take with it as drafted is that it excludes the property on Sportsman's Club Road, specifically requires access to and frontage on Commerce Boulevard and a couple other streets that are not Sportsman's Club Road, which would essentially not give the Johnson family the additional permitted uses. So as this process works through, we're here to engage with you all and with council and with the city to try and, figure out a solution that allows these additional permitted uses to attach to the Johnson property. Thanks for letting us speak tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else?
All right. Weird being on this side, isn't it? So, normally I'm on that side of the table for
3
zoning.
minutes, sir.
Ryan Green, whatever my address is these days. But just wanted to come in and put up my 2 cents. This was something that we talked about when I was on zoning last. Came through us. My goal, at least, was, as one vote, was to make sure we have some businesses that are in that district currently that would like to do some things in the future. I know that we have a lot of people from the outside looking in. I want to make sure that we give everybody a chance, in that district to be able to come in and do something that's great for Johnstown and that's going to bring business, jobs, and positive things to the city. I think we did a lot of things the right way in going through this document. There may be some more creative uses that we missed that if we are able to have a conversation on that, maybe there's something we missed that could come in as a creative use. I think it's pretty easy as far as the amendments we could make to make this work. As far as the addition of Sportsman's Club and Endeavor, you may see those properties split up in the future, depending on what comes in there and the size and scope of the future projects. So leave some room for future streets that may be named later and created. So that was my 2 cents. This is a project that's been there for a long time. It's grown as a district. It's odd how it's laid out. When you actually get a chance to look at it, our light manufacturing district comes in almost to behind downtown. So it's an odd district, but when we all look at it, of how it's played out today, when you go back through Commerce and look at it, you can tell what's a business park and what isn't a business park. And we want to make sure that we get the business park area right. So, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to table until staff has time to review, and then we can actually come together and further converse with the comments that were made today and with staff's recommendations.
That's great.
I'll second that.
That way Mark can be a part of it.
Kyle Cook,
Yes.
Albert Connell,
Yes.
Brian Hebel,
Yes.
Steve Dyer.
Yes. Other business? Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be safe.
Thanks. Sorry, design review.
Great questions, guys.
Computers for you next time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were priding ourselves on never cutting into design reviews time, and they always cut into ours.
Now it's
How'd that go?
flipped. The roles
Yeah,
are reversed.
I got to sign mine still.